have a few general topics I want to ask about, and it'll just go as it goes.
Beautiful. I spy a playbill back there.
Yeah, I have a playbill here, and I have some playbills down here.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I take it you're a pretty big fan of Broadway.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, don't worry, it'll be back again.
Yeah. So my first question is, can you tell the listeners like a little bit about yourself?
Of course. My name is Desi Oakley. I am a Broadway actress and a singer-songwriter. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, which is actually right now where I am. I'm quarantining in the Midwest with my family. And yeah, I've been in lots of Broadway shows and national tours. And I went to the University of Michigan where I studied musical theater and I got my bachelor's of fine arts there and moved to New York City right away, and I've lived there ever since. So that's where that's where I live and where I'm based out of.
Yeah, this whole week I've been listening to Pocket of Time on a repeat just to like get in the zone for this.
You are so precious. That is so sweet of you. It means the world to me. It's a really special thing. I love songwriting, and it's my way of expressing myself and also connecting. And I also Pocket of Time will benefit, if you listen to it, it'll benefit an amazing organization who's doing a lot of stuff. The Dramatists Guild Foundation, they're doing a ton for people who are out of work because of COVID-19. And so when you listen to the album, it'll all the proceeds will go and help the DFW, or excuse me, Dramatists Guild, DGF, Dramatists Guild Foundation. That's the acronym. But yeah, it's good. It's like you support me, and then you also support artists everywhere. So it's good, good, good.
Since we're kind of already on this topic, I have some questions about like singing and songwriting. So the first one was, where did you kind of like start singing and songwriting?
Yeah, I love that question. So I was 8 years old when I started playing the piano because I'm a piano-based songwriter. And I always give credit to my piano teacher for my writing because when I was 8, I started studying. I was a beginner. I was definitely not some crazy child prodigy like piano star. I learned really basic, just like everyone else. And in that space, my piano teacher started to give me at the end of each lesson a little bit of time to make up a song. And she would say, okay, now it's your turn to make up a song. And so I think that I developed this freedom of wanting to play the piano and play around. And my teacher always said it was beautiful. And I think that we always need somebody to say that about our art, even if it's silly or even if it's, made up on the spot, or even if you're young, or even if, and I always had that encouragement. And so that's how I started writing. I started writing on the piano. I would take that kind of support and that freedom, and I would take it home, and then I would play on the piano and make up songs and just be silly. And then eventually it started to become something a bit more cohesive. Like actually would write write down lyrics that meant something to me. And I started, actually, not a lot of people know this. I put out an album when I was 13 years old in middle school. Okay, all original songs. Okay, and honestly, like the only person that has access to it is my mother, and like also, of course, the people that I sold it to in middle school. I think I sold it for like $1 or something, and so it's funny to look back on now. And of course, I don't intend on releasing any of those songs anytime soon. But I think that it was always important to feel that my songs were appreciated. I was encouraged to keep going, which is why I still do.
How do you like how do you get your ideas for
Yeah.
your
So they come from all over the place. Sometimes I write about my own life or my own experiences. And sometimes I write about other people's experiences, or sometimes I write about something totally random. I also like to take things that people have said to me and turn them into songs. That could be something sad that somebody said to me, or something really beautiful that somebody said to me. Um, so I wrote a song called White Butterfly, and I heard when I was young that white butterflies are a sign of hope.
Mhm.
And I wrote about that because I thought, oh, that's really beautiful. I love that. So I sometimes write about things that people, like ideas that people have or that I've been given or my own life experience. But honestly, there's inspiration everywhere as long as we keep looking.
Yeah, because I would like, because I'm not like a singer songwriter so much, but like sometimes I like write something for fun, and like one sometimes I like write a song about love, but like I'm like 12 years old, so I find like I usually draw it from like other experiences because I feel like you don't, it doesn't just have to be from yourself because like I don't know about a breakup or whatever.
Of course, but you've been around people who've been sad or you've heard stories about people who have experienced sadness. So you can relate in that way. And I'm sure you have felt sad about something else in your life. Like, absolutely. So, yeah, it's kind of about associating. And then it's a really beautiful way to connect to yourself and other people because you're listening to their stories and you're able to say, oh, I can kind of relate to that. You know, it's a really good thing.
Since now you're kind of like a professional like singer songwriter because you're like out in the world, what's your process for like writing these songs?
And it changes throughout. Sometimes I write the lyrics first, like a poem.
Mm-hmm.
So just a beautiful poem, like just the words that are on my heart, or some even kind of like sometimes a journal entry, like a diary entry. And then I add music to the words. And then other times I sit down on the piano because I studied classically for almost 15 years. So sometimes I'll just jam out on the piano and just like totally make up, kind of like I did when I was 8, and just be like whatever, and then whatever comes to my head. And sometimes I'll say the first words that come to my head. It's a really, really fun experiment. If you've never tried that, just literally saying whatever comes to your head, and just, especially if you're alone by yourself, then nobody can think it's silly. And that's how a lot of my songs happen. So sometimes I write the words first and sometimes I make the music first, but I've done both.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like the first thing that comes to your head, like
Yeah.
I never like have it all written out. So like I'll come up with this like really good line and then I just have to think of something that rhymes, and the first thing that rhymes in my head I have to like make it into like a real sentence.
Yeah, it's good. That's incredible. That actually is a lot like how I do it. That really reminds me of my process. And again, I mean, here's the thing. There's no wrong way to write a song, right? If you're writing a song, that's it. Like you can't mess it up. It's your song. So I think there's a lot of freedom in that. I think it's so beautiful. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song to either like to perform or listen to from your pocket of time?
From Pocket of Time. Oh yeah. I think I really like the song "Thank You." It's the first one on the album.
Yeah.
I really like it because it's positive, and I wrote it about something so specific. But I hopefully think that a lot of people can kind of take something from it. And the words "Thank You" mean a lot to me because I think that I try to lead with gratitude, and having gratitude and being thankful for things is so important to me. So I think that's my favorite. Except, you know what I mean? It changes all the time. Like you could probably ask me tomorrow and I'd be like, this is my favorite. Yeah,
I think it's so cool how you said like you wrote it in a really short amount of time.
I did. That's why I called it Pocket of Time because I
Mm-hmm.
wrote it all within like 6 weeks or something really fast.
Yeah, because I've like seen a lot of people say like, "Oh, my greatest hit, like I just came up with it on the spot."
I know. There are people that do that. And sometimes I can write a song really fast. I think that it's a good test of like trust. That sometimes I'm a perfectionist. I don't know if you relate to this at all, but I really like for things to be very perfect, and that's not great in art because when is art perfect? Never, like never. Art isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be an expression of where you're at, right? And so I think sometimes just letting go and surrendering and just being like, okay, this is it. This is what it is. Um, and that was a really good test for me as a perfectionist with Pocket of Time because I just said, you know what? This is where it's going to be. I put my pencil down. I stopped playing. We pushed record and I said, let's just do it. Let's just be done. And that was good for me, I think. Yeah, it was a good test for my perfectionism.
Yeah, because we always have to challenge ourselves, and that's how we grow as people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I kind of wanted to transition to now like the Broadway side of you.
Love it.
So how did you get your start in like theater?
So in theater in general, in Wichita, which is where I am, there's an amazing theater here called Music Theater Wichita. And I started doing it when I was very, very young. And I was exposed to these awesome shows during the summer. It's a summer stock, a lot like the Muni or Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera, or a lot of these amazing theaters around the country only have shows in the summer. So they call it summer stocks, where they like do a whole bunch of shows. And I knew that Music Theater Wichita was a big deal because I knew that thousands of people throughout has come to see the shows throughout the summer. But I didn't really know when I was doing it that I was working alongside Broadway stars. So people from Broadway would come and play the leads while the while people of Wichita would kind of fill out the ensemble and the kids ensemble. I had no idea that I was like sitting on Kelly O'Hara's lap. I mean, I had literally no clue, and 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 I think what was cool about that is that I learned just by doing what I wanted. So I would show up in the summers, kind of like a summer camp, and I just didn't really even know that I was learning from incredible artists. And they were like examples to me, beautiful examples of what it could be like to do this as a profession. And I started to kind of say, actually, this feels kind of right. Like, this sounds kind of good. I really like this, and they're all so amazing. These people are so fantastic. And the ensemble was filled with college kids. And I was like, oh, you can study this in college. I was like, this is so cool. And I was learning all about it. And um, that's how I also started. That's how I also went to the University of Michigan, is I met all these people, from different colleges, and I found out where I wanted to go, and that's how I started. And then after that, I moved to New York. So that's really how I got my start, was because of this amazing theater.
What was your first like professional like gig?
So, my first show at Music Theater Wichita was a show called The Most Happy Fella, and I was 8. But that wasn't professional. I wasn't paid then.
Mhm.
The first time I walked onto the stage as a paid professional, I was 14 years old, and they paid me to start to be in the resident company of the ensemble with all of the college kids at 14. And my first professional production there was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which I love that show.
Yeah, I think my school has put it on a couple of times, but I personally haven't seen it.
It's a great show. It's a great show.
So, how I like to ask this question: what did like your first um, professional gig, or even like your first acting experiences, teach you as an actor?
Oh yeah. Um, I think it taught me, especially at Music Theater Wichita, like professionalism, a really, really strong sense of respect and professionalism in the workspace. Um, like that's where I learned how the most the most professional people, how they carried themselves and what they did. They were the first people back from the break. So if they called a 10-minute break, you know that they were right there at the end of the 10 minutes, or they were really respectful when talking to other actors, and especially respectful of the crew backstage, and learning names of the crew and the stage management team, and going beyond just you know I feel like it can be kind of selfish as an actor to just think about yourself and how you need things to be and what you want it to be like on stage. And I think it's really important to kind of zoom out a little bit and take in everybody that's involved in the production, because there's no way I could be doing what I'm doing without them doing what they're doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, learning that professionalism, I think, really helped me.
One thing you said about how like it's all one part, I like to think of it as kind of like a puzzle. Like every piece has like a matter and it's like important, but together it makes a really pretty picture.
I think that is such a special way of looking at it. It's so spot on. And knowing that, yes, it is an incomplete puzzle without everybody coming together. And I think that's so important. I think that's so good that you know that. And yeah, I'm glad I learned it at a young age too. Yes, for sure.
Now I want to kind of talk about when you were in the waitress tour.
Okay.
Can how what was your audition process like?
I actually auditioned kind of near the end of their process.
Mhm.
So I think that the company had actually found a bunch of the other actors that they wanted to play for Dr. Pomander and for Becky and for Cal. So they all knew what they were doing. So Jenna, they
Mhm.
had yet to kind of solidify who they wanted to play. So I kind of came in towards the tail end of it. And I got a packet of information, which was to learn. So I had to learn a portion of what baking can do, a portion of She Used to Be Mine, and a portion of Everything Changes Part Two.
Mhm.
And so those were the three songs I had to learn. And then there were like three different sides, which are scenes that I had to learn. And so I came in and I think I did it for only a couple of people. So the casting director and the associate director. And they said, hey, have you seen this show? And I said, yeah, what's up? They said, we want you to see Sarah in the show.
Mhm.
So literally during my audition, they said Sarah Bareilles is playing Jenna at the Brooks Atkinson Theater. We want you to go see the show. I'm like, me? I'm like, okay. This was after my audition. They said that by watching Sarah, they thought it would be really helpful for me to come into the final callback after seeing Sarah do it. So I will never forget that I was walked into the Brooks Atkinson at a sold out house with a little badge. Somebody came to get me at the stage door and they brought me to the standing room places where people stand to watch the show.
Mhm.
And have you ever stood to watch a show?
No, I have not.
I've always stood, but you know those the places at the back where people stand. So normally there's a tall kind of like ledge at the back of each house on the
Mhm.
orchestra level, and that's normally where standing room goes.
Oh,
Um, that's where I saw Hamilton. I saw the original cast of Hamilton standing too.
wow.
Yeah. And you forget you're standing after a while because it doesn't matter. You're like, I'm watching the coolest thing ever. And so I watched Sarah Bareilles and I tried to take mental notes because I couldn't be back there taking notes and like on my phone, you know. So I just had to really kind of memorize, her approach to it. And then that they sent me to the final callback and I did it for Sarah herself. And I will never forget, I finished What Baking Can Do. And she said, or we might have started with She Used to Be Mine. I can't remember which one we started with. And afterwards, she said, you sound great, love. And she called me love in the room. And I just remember saying, wow, that's enough. Even if I don't get the job, like that was good because Sarah was an idol of mine as a singer songwriter, as a piano based singer songwriter. Come on. She was like totally my like idol. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I don't get the job, that'll be enough. But I did. I did end up getting the job and it changed my life. It did. It changed my whole life.
Yeah, one thing that I really like, because my name's Lucy and there's Lulu's Pies. So, like, the backdrop of my like phone is like Lulu's Pies, and like I've been ordering stickers that are like Lulu's Pies.
Cutest ever. Because Lulu could be a nickname of yours because you're
Yeah,
Lulu. Of course.
like
That's
one time I texted all my friends like a month ago because I was like really into well, like I'm into waitress, but like
yeah,
one since quarantine I've just been listening, and like the part like the 2 weeks that I was like listening to waitress, I was like, everyone, you have to call me Lulu now.
I love it. I love it. That would be such a cute nickname. I love it.
Yeah. So how is life on the road? Because you're on tour.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It can be challenging, I mean, it's tough to be on the road. You're constantly changing locations and hotel rooms and beds and dressing rooms and meeting different people and it's tough. Um, I love traveling. So I think it was fun for me. And I've toured with other things. I toured with the national tour of Evita and
Mm-hmm.
also with Wicked. So I've toured before, so that was good. I'm glad I had that experience before I went on the road with Waitress, so that wasn't my first time. Um, but I think there are really, really good things about it. And then there are really, really challenging things about it. But ultimately, it was such a blessing. Um, and when you're faced with different challenges too, it helps you grow. So, if we had a long travel day and I have to be at the theater the next day, I learn how to take care of myself, and I learn how to get really good sleep and how to know what I need and how to fuel my body in order to do the job. It can be really good. The challenges can be very good. you know. Um, but yeah, it was so great. We saw a lot of the cities of the United States that I some of which I'd been to and some of which I hadn't been to. So that's always really fun to see new cities.
Yeah, because one thing Miss Christina once said, she was like, we were talking about tour, and she was like, you get to see all these different places that you might have never seen if you were just like a regular person.
Oh, you mean Christina Halabato, my best? She's the best, isn't she?
Yeah.
I love her so much.
So you kind of already touched it, but for regarding the performance type, was it different from like performing on like a Broadway per se, if you were like performing on tour?
Yes, it can be very different. Most of the houses on tour are bigger, so the auditoriums or like the houses, the theaters,
Mm-hmm.
um, have almost sometimes double, even sometimes triple the amount of seats. Okay. So when you go to a Broadway stage, it actually feels like kind of intimate. And most
Mm-hmm.
of Broadway is so big, and it is, but listen, as far as actual capacity of people, there's more space when you go around the country. So that's very different. But for the most part, I've got to say that most national tours, especially national Broadway tours,
Mm-hmm.
um, really do, I mean, they're telling the story of the Broadway show, just with different actors. So most of the time, it's the same creative team. So it's the same director and the choreographer. It's the same everything. So the show doesn't end up being all that different as far as creatively.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you know as well as I do that when you have an understudy or a standby or a new person playing a role, it changes things pretty drastically because we're all different people, you know?
Yeah, and everyone has their own takes on each character.
Yes, that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, I find it always so exciting when like you know that someone's there that hasn't been there before,
Yeah,
and because you're like, even if you've watched the show before, it gives you a completely new take.
totally. And I think it's so fun that you have that perspective too. And I understand, when people get sad that they're missing out on seeing somebody who they really wanted to see. I totally understand that. But I've been an understudy and a swing and a standby. And I want to have the audience be excited to see me when I go on. So I understand both perspectives. I love that it excites you. Um, because it excites me too. Yeah, especially being in the cast with somebody who's going on for their debut. Woo,
Mm-hmm.
so fun. It's so fun.
So my next like topic, but it's not. It's kind of the same topic.
Yeah.
It's about replacing Lucy Jones in the West End.
Yes.
So this was actually commented by a fan, and they were asking you what how did you get the news for you had to replace Lucy Jones?
Yes. That was a wild ride. Woo! Okay, so I normally would have been in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
probably, doing something like a yoga class or in my apartment or teaching or going to an audition or something. But it was a weekend, so it was on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I had accepted a teaching gig. I love to work with young students and aspiring artists, and I just love it so much. So I was teaching up in Buffalo at an amazing, cool, really awesome, institution for teaching young people in Buffalo. So I got a call. No, I got a voicemail from the general manager of Waitress, and I couldn't understand. I like couldn't understand the voicemail, and it was all like jumbled. I didn't even make out like that it's Waitress, that they need me. Nothing. I heard nothing. And I also didn't recognize the phone number. So I just texted that phone number and said, "Hey," in between teaching, "Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
got a voicemail from you. I'm not sure who it is. Let me know if you need anything." Well, then they texted back and said who they were and what they needed, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I need a second." So I ran into the hallway and was like, "Wait, I need to make a phone call." So I called my manager and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" She goes, "Okay, let me figure this out. Hold on. So everybody was on the phone at once. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to go back in and teach until you guys," so they kind of started discussing. And about 10 minutes later, I kid you not, they were like, "We think we're going to put you on a plane." And I was like, "Okay, we need hold tight. I'm in Buffalo. I'm in Buffalo. And they were like, why are you in Buffalo? I'm like, I know, I'm in Buffalo. I'm like, I'm teaching. I took it. It's a day trip. I'm here for the day. So they were like, well, we got to get you on a plane tonight. So I got the call around 2 or 3 p.m. and I was on a plane back to JFK and then a plane out of there by 10 p.m. I was en route to London. So
Wow.
hours later.
And were you like put in mid-show?
I know. I was put in. What they did is they rehearsed me
Mm-hmm.
on the following day,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. Or no, maybe they rehearsed me Monday. Sunday was their day off, and that I was so grateful because I needed a chance to catch up on jet lag.
Mm-hmm.
They rehearsed me on Monday, and I went into the show on Monday night. So that makes sense. Yes. Okay, so I got the call on Saturday. Sunday was their day off. I was in the show on Monday. Yes, and they had known at that point that I would be on for Lucy that evening, so they told me that I'd be on for her. Yes, so I made my West End debut that night.
Wow. So now you've basically like been in like every one. You've been on tour, and then you've been on Broadway, and you've been on West End.
No, it's so crazy, but yes, I have. I feel so grateful.
Was there like any differences between the tour and West End?
There were a few. Yes. Actually, what's great is there are more differences, I think, between West End and Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
They built tour after Broadway, right? So Broadway was happening, then they started to do the national tour, and then they built the West End. So the West End actually had a lot of similarities to the national tour. So especially because they had done it before. So things like the diner and the doctor's unit being separate, the kitchen and the doctor's unit, I think on Broadway do like a spinny cool thing, and they're separate units on tour. That's cool. And then no, but there were definitely some differences. Like they were like different prop things, and I was like, oh my goodness. I remember the first night they were like, you know what, Des, just do your best. If there's a random prop out of place, who cares? You're doing great.
How long was this after you finished up tour?
So this is cool. It would have been like a year and a half, but I had gone back to Christine Dwyer, who replaced me on the national tour, got married. So she had a 2-week, wedding and honeymoon. And they flew me out to Toronto to do 2 weeks of her shows. So lucky for me, it hadn't been a year and a half. It had been only about 5 months. But still, that's a long time.
Yeah, and I think it's a very like down to earth show that is very like human.
Oh, it is. You're so right. And that's what I love about it so much.
Do you have, because from all these pie baking shenanigans, do you have a favorite pie?
Yes. Oh, I remember people who used to ask me that all the time on the road. And at some point, sometimes I started joking and saying, oh, I don't like pie. Just to see what they would say. No, I love pie. I don't know many people that don't like pie. I tend to like, especially maybe because it started to feel like summer, I really like fresh fruity pies. So like strawberry pies and blueberry pies. You know, I love that like kind of classic, or even like peach. So cobbler-ish kinds. I tend to enjoy fruit pies, but listen to me, if you gave me a chocolate pie, I would not say no.
I think pies are a really nice like even ground for a lot of people because it's like a cookie and like a cake like all together.
Cookie and a cake, exactly right. That's a great way of thinking. I love that. Yeah, who doesn't like pie? Come on.
Even if you like don't, if you say you don't like pie, there's so many pies. Like I'm sure there's like at least one you might like.
Exactly. Yeah, you're bound to find one that you could stand. You know.
Now I kind of wanted to talk about Pop Rock Broadway, if that's okay with you.
I would love it. Yay!
So my first question is like, how did you guys start it?
So Christina and I, not only are we best friends, but we've always viewed the business really similarly. she and I kind of we're each other's go-to when it comes to like, hey, what would you do about this? Or, hey, how would you handle this? Or, hey, this came up at the theater and how would you? So we always have relied on each other as sort of allies when it comes to, approaching the business. And then we also, not only that, but we've primarily had a lot of success in the pop rock field in our industry. So we were like, what if we tried teaching a masterclass? Like, I kid you not, that's how it started. And she goes, we were like, sure, that sounds fun. And then we were like, well, okay, how about we do this? How about what do we call it? There's so many questions to be answered. Then it's like, okay, do we do this? Do we do that? How do we do it? What does it look like? How do we get the word out? It's just like so much stuff. So then this is what happened. One day we were having a conversation. We said, let's just pick a date. Say we're doing a masterclass. Invite as many people as we can. If we don't sell out, who cares? We will have tried it and it doesn't matter. Great, we decided. Then she said, great, what should the name be? And I said, well, how about for the meantime, we'll obviously change it. But how about we start with, she and I said, how about pop rock, essentially just pop rock and then Broadway. And we just kind of we'll just leave it at that. And then we'll change it. Mm-hmm. But we never changed it because that's what it is. It's pop rock Broadway. And we love it because that's really kind of what it is. We have it's pop and it's rock, right? But it's Broadway and it's all the things that we feel that we're good at. And we try to talk about a lot of other things too, we try to talk about, things that really matter and really, approaching your artistry as a person and as a human and being well-rounded in that way and checking in with mental health and feeling free and just all that stuff. So we talk about all that good stuff too. But that's long for the title,
One thing I really like about you guys is one, you have all the connections and you're really into it to make it really a sincere teaching experience. And it's actually way cheaper than most things, which makes a lot of it more accessible to a lot of people.
Good. That's what we want. We always want it to be available. And we always talk. We have people reach out too, and they say, hey, there's not much I can do more than this amount. And we try to just make it really accessible for people. And thank you for noticing that. It means a lot to us. The whole point is to connect, that's our whole point. So, and we both have such a passion for it. And it's been really fun to share that with my best girl.
Yeah. And a couple of months ago, didn't you do a giveaway? And it was share something that you're doing to brighten someone's day?
Yes, we did. We had 5 spots that were able to go to people who were, just being creative. We were just trying to inspire creativity. That's really what matters to us,
Yeah. And what I think is really cool as well is even before COVID-19 started, you guys still had Skype, also making it more accessible.
Absolutely. Yeah. We believe in, reaching as many people as we can, and not everybody can be in New York all the time. Right. And, so it's great. Yeah, you're right. Before the shutdown and everything, we were able to, and that's how we're able to continue. And then we've done our first kind of couple of master classes online, and it's been so successful and so fun, and it's just so cool. Yeah.
And I hope your loved ones stay safe. And
it's so good.
Yeah, so I think that's all we need.
That is so perfect. This was so lovely, my Lulu. You're so fantastic. And this was so good. And the questions were beautiful. And I'm so grateful I got to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Hope you and your loved ones stay safe.
Yes, and you and yours. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, sweet girl. Bye.